I'm going to share with you guys my top 5 list. You know, now owning the car for a little while, things that I love about this car, and kind of why. And for those who haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe as I continue to share with you guys more content about the Lotus Evora here. I know there's not many of us out there, yet alone many of us on social media or sharing, you know, kind of what this car and this brand is about. So definitely stick around as I continue to fall in love with the brand. This is obviously my first Lotus, but I've always kind of followed them through their journey in North America, which has been short-lived, so to speak. There's only really been 3 models here: the Lotus Evora here, the early gen Lotus Elise, and Lotus Exige, which are almost identical here. I really wish we could have got the V6 Exiges here, and I'm excited for what the brand's going to do in the future. So today I figured I would take the time to finally talk to you guys about the 5 things, excuse me as I go over these bumps, the 5 things that I love about this Lotus Evora 400. I'm gonna get right into it since I was going over those bumps. Number 1, people assume that this car is very uncomfortable to drive and hard on your back and this, that, or the other. I don't really know where that came from. Maybe in the Lotus Elise and Lotus Exige, which was more of their track weapon focused cars, might have had that personality trait. But the Lotus Evora, for those that don't know, is their GT car. This is the car that's supposed to compete, despite what people believe, 911s, McLarens, the NSX, all those baby entry-level exotic supercar GT cars, Aston Martin with their new Vantage, the Mercedes AMG GTS. So you're getting the point that I'm trying to make. This car is actually really comfortable. Coming from my E92 M3, which I still own, and the suspension that I have on that, when I go over bumps in that, it lets me know. I feel it all the way up my back. I still feel the bumps when I go over it in this car, but because the chassis is so stiff, I feel like the suspension has the ability to be more on the comfort side in terms of rebound, and it absorbs a lot of that energy through the chassis and suspension to where I can feel that I did go over bumps and I can understand the communication that it's giving me, but it's soft. To me, it's like being in a C300 or any entry-level luxury car in terms of suspension feel, that it's still like a sporty car. That's how it feels all the time in this car. So number 2 on the list of things that I really love about the Lotus Evora, and this is a big one up there with sound, is visibility and positioning on the road. Despite that, like all mid-engine cars, the visibility out the back is pretty terrible. I'll give you a shot of what that looks like in a second. But outward visibility is phenomenal because there's nothing in front of the car in terms of any boot or motor or anything. it has the ability to really slope downward and allow you to have a very clean shot out, which allows you to really understand where you're placing the vehicle, as well as this very broad windshield, which allows you to really feel like you can really see everything that's going on. Another thing is the A-pillars aren't really in your way. They're still pretty chunky, but they're not in your way or obstructing the visibility that you need to have. So I'm really digging where I can position this car and where I sit in the car as well, relative to the road. So I'm absolutely loving that. So I gave you 2 things so far on my top 5 list of things I love. Number 3, which really should be number 1, is the brand itself. As I've kind of gone into buying the E92 M3, and the reasons why I originally bought that car is because that was my dream car, and that really simply put has been my dream car. I think if I were to compare any other like long-term future dream cars, would be the Ferrari 458 or GT3. But to go back to the brand of Lotus, when I got into the E92 M3 and I started like looking at where the market was going, and cars are getting heavier, they're getting faster in terms of power to overcompensate for how heavy they were. They were losing that feel due to going to electric steering, electric diffs, and all these things. And it was just what Lotus stands for, and what they stand by is that it's about being a driver's car. People who do reviews on them talk about, oh, the material's not great, and oh, all the creature comforts and features aren't amazing in comparison to XYZ. Who's using those things when you're really driving a car? I don't care if my seat can't massage itself, have 25 ways to reconfigure itself, having all this electronic nannies and stuff. Like, the car fundamentally is amazing. It is lightweight. It is, they tried everything they can to give you enough to be comfortable, but they made sure that they made the proper decisions to stay focused on it being a driver's car. They give you a navigation system. It's not some bespoke, multi-investment R&D project for it, because who cares after like the first 5 days? Like, it doesn't matter how great the CarPlay connectivity was and all this internal features, and you know, if it can text my eyes and know when I'm getting sleepy. No one cares. When you're driving a car, how does it feel in the steering wheel? How does the steering wheel feel? How does your positioning in terms of where you sit feel? How does it sound? How is the communication? Is it fun to drive when you're not even driving fast? That's what Lotus stands for, and that's what this car brings, and that's why I love this car so much. It's because of the brand and what the brand means. And I feel like a lot of companies who have these same similar philosophies have lost themselves trying to be the masses selling, record-breaking cars. We don't need any of that stuff. 400 horsepower, 300 pounds-feet of torque. Wow, it's getting hot, so I gotta open this up. But they'll say 400 horsepower, 300 pounds-feet of torque. Oh, it's not enough, because you know, you got these super sedans with 700 horsepower now. You can't even use the 400 in the Lotus Evora. How are you using the 700 horsepower? My M3 has close to 650, 670 horsepower. I can't even use it. But when I'm driving this car, I can use all of it. And I'm still doing illegal speeds, I'm not gonna lie, but I can use it all. I can truly enjoy how this car brings about its power and its emotion on the street. And that's what matters. And so I can ramble about that topic forever, but it's fundamentally an amazing car. And like, the new GT4 just came out, and if you look at the specs of the new GT4 and you look at the specs of this Evora, they're almost tick for tack. This car weighs less. It has 410, 415 horsepower, so does the GT4. 300, 310 torque, so does the GT4. Can be optioned with a 6-speed manual, so can the GT4. Does 0 to 60 in like 3.9, 4.1 seconds, so does the GT4. It's mid-engine, fundamentally a GT car. So it's like, don't slack on this car. And that is the number 3 reason why I love this car. And I'm going to get into number 4 in just a second. I've rambled about all the things I love, but I'll go into a little more detail as you'll see me go through this list. But yeah, number 4 is mid-engine. Woo! I wanted a mid-engine car ever since, you know, people talked about that being the epitome of sports cars. If you got a mid-engine car, you have the best built chassis of a sports car, because, you know, an econ car, it's front engine. So if you have a mid-engine, you don't have a mid-engine econ car. It's a mid-engine sports car. And the Lotus sake, for those who don't care or not, this is a mid-engine entry-level exotic, entry-level supercar. You know, hand-built, yada yada yada. So here's the mid-engine. I love it. I love how you can see it every time you open the trunk. You know, you reach in, you're getting some stuff. Woo, look at that bad boy. It's looking beautiful. Yes, it's a Toyota V6 motor, but none of that matters when you put Lotus tuning on it, because a motor is only as good as the sum of its parts, and the sum of the parts here are magnificent. Lotus knows how to take motors and do great things. Lotus knows how to make great chassis to make average motors be phenomenal, and this motor is an average phenomenal beast. But I love that it's mid-engine. I love how it gives you the near 50-50 weight distribution. There's something about a way the mid-engine sits on the rear wheels in a way that you just can't get out of a front engine car. And then that kind of goes into my thing that I absolutely love about the motor. It's a Camry motor. It's Toyota reliable. I can drive this thing 300, 400,000 miles. Like, why should this car break? There might be some little things that I will talk about and things that I hate about my Lotus, but when it comes down to the core of a exotic supercar, the first thing you're worried about is, dang, how's this motor gonna survive? You know, what's the longevity on it? Hell, the M3 I have now, every time I drive it, I'm like, knock on wood, don't explode, rod bearings, hold tight, change the oil on the dot, get my oil analysis. This car, change the oil every 5,000 miles. It's a Camry motor. What's gonna happen? And if something does happen, it ain't gonna be that expensive. So what's the sweat? So that coming with the way this car looks and the core of it being the motor being solid, I'm good. Like, I love it. I absolutely love it, and it deserves to be on the list of crazy, amazing things. And last but not least, the reason why I buy all cars is its soul. And the way you can feel its soul is through how it sings when you are running it fast. And this boy screams, man. You didn't think it would because it has a Camry motor. I don't know too many Camry cars that sound like this, but golly, this thing screams up top. My M3 screams in a different way. It has a higher revving red line, but this thing is so sublime. The sound is crisp, refined, and beautiful. And the intake sounds, the way these superchargers are whining, there's just so much going on that makes it amazing to drive and enjoy. But sound on this thing is a must. Take a listen. Enjoy the sound. Really try one out, give it a shot, see how it sounds. You're gonna be in love, I promise you. Some other great things that I do love about this car is definitely the way it looks. This thing is unique. I don't think too many other cars look like it. It is an absolutely stunning car. My favorite profile is really this profile here. I love the way it looks when you capture it in this angle. You really get to see the hunch and the way that mid-engine characteristic comes together. I love the way you kind of have those two ducts in the back right near the rear view mirror, or the mirror. I'm losing my ability to speak right now. But the windows in the back, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Let me close the trunk and get some full 360. Whoa, look at that motor again. God, man, how can you get tired of seeing this awesome motor? Shout out again to Greg with the race intake from GRP. Seriously, if you own a Lotus and you haven't done these mods, definitely get the DCAT, definitely get the intake. Greg Race Parts, gotta love them. Seriously, I'm glad that there's someone in the US that provides us with some aftermarket parts. Money shot right here, guys. But like I was saying, it's an amazing car to see on the road. It has great presence. It has all the dynamics of being a supercar. It's funny, usually the two things that I always get when people see this car is either, wow, what is this? It's definitely unique, and it has its own look that I don't think a lot of people can truly recognize. And then those that do know are like, wow, this is a Lotus. It has a Camry V6 motor. It's like people who know about this car have to constantly remind you that it has a V6 motor. But anyways, it is a phenomenal car. Oh God, just look at this thing. It's absolutely beautiful. So yeah, those are the things I love. Let's go back through that list real quick. Obviously, sound, absolutely amazing. The way it handles, phenomenal. The brand of Lotus and what they stand for in terms of sticking to the basics and soul of what makes a car great. This car right here lives up to that hype. It's a GT car. It's comfortable. I don't know why people think it's not comfortable. It's absolutely comfortable. Mid-engine, golly, man, I really can't believe at this point in my career and age that I was going to have a mid-engine supercar, yet alone the Lotus. I've always had love for this car. It has the 400 horsepower and a supercharger that you can play with. It's now on my driveway. Couple other things I do love. This white on red interior is amazing. The way it really just comes together here, oh my goodness. Like, how can you say no to that? It's a phenomenal interior for me. It ticks the boxes. Great seats, great visibility, leather, stitched. I mean, I love the seats. This is a great interior. And I actually really like the center console here. Yep, I know. What the heck, Travis? Where is your 6-speed manual? Well, guys, I don't get all sad about not having a manual. First of all, and also it came down to white on red or any color with black on a manual, and I didn't want black interior because when I bought my M3, I wanted white on red. So when I had the chance to finally get a white on red combo, I wanted it for the Evora, and that meant I had to get an automatic. I don't hate it though. Also allows my Lauren to drive it, so no complaints there. But yeah, for those who might have their own personal reasons why they love the Evora, definitely comment below. What are things that you absolutely love about the Evora, and maybe what are some things you dislike about my top 5 list of things that make this car so great? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on that. Just, you know, I'm curious to know for the Lotus fans or the anti-Lotus fans, what do you guys think?